Hi everyone, and you are welcome to this lecture, Loops Jump Statements. In this lecture, we are going to understand the meaning of jump statements. Also, we will learn about the main jump statements, which are continue statement and break statement. And as usual, I'm going to end up this lecture by a quick summary, so let's get started. First of all, I will start by defining what jump statements are. Jump statements are statements that can alter the execution flow of a normal loop, whether it's a for loop or while loop. As a reminder, we know that we use for loop in order to iterate over items of an iterable, and the for loop ends the execution once it scans all the items, whereas while loop continue the execution as long as a predefined condition is satisfied. So this is the default behavior. But Python supports two jump statements, which are continue and break. And these statements will alter this default behavior that mentioned before. Let's talk about the first statement, which is continue. Usually, if continue statement is executed within a loop, and I say here if because most often we will put these statements after conditions. So if the condition is not satisfied, these statements will not be executed. But if it's executed, in case of continue, all statements after this statement are ignored. And I mean by all statements here, the statements that are within the loop body. So within the loop body, all the statements after these statements are going to be ignored. Then the execution will start again from the next iteration and exactly from the first line of code inside the loop body. Now let's see how break statement work. If break statement is executed within a loop, all statements after these statements are ignored, and I mean here by all statements, the statements that are inside the loop body, and this is similar to continue. But in case of break, the interpreter exits from this loop and continues the execution from the first next statements after the loop. So keep in your mind, continue will ignore the current iteration, whereas break statement will exit from the loop totally. Now let's move to PyCharm IDE in order to see some code examples. The first example that I want to share with you is the following. As you might have a list, and this list it's named fruits, and it has apple, banana, and cherry. And then I will use for loop in order to print each item inside this list. So in this case, I will say for x in fruits print x, and I will get apple, banana, cherry. Now let me assume that I don't want to print banana anymore. So in this case, I want to skip this item. So I will say if x equal to banana colon continue, run. As you see here now, I got only apple and cherry. Why this happened? Because for the second item, which is banana equal to banana, this condition is satisfied, so continue statement will be executed. In this case, the interpreter will ignore all the statements inside the loop and it will continue directly from the first statement, which is the same condition in this case. That I want to print the items from 1 to 7. So I will say I equal to 1 while I smaller than 8, I equal to I plus 1, print I. Run, I will get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's say that I decided to ignore the item 4, for example. So in this case, I will say if I equal 4, continue and run again. As you see here, I get 2, 3, there is no 4 anymore, and then I have 5. So in this case also, continue will ignore the remaining statements and it will start the execution again, and it will make the interpreter starts the execution again from the first line inside the loop body. Now let's see some examples about break. Again, I will assume that I have a list, it's named fruits, and it has apple, banana, cherry, and I want to print each item, and this is a simple program we already see. In this case, I will say for x in fruits, print x. Now let me assume that if I find an item, its value banana, I want to exit directly from the loop. So in this case, I will say if x equal to banana, break. And also I will say here, print after 4. If I run this code in this way, as you will see, I get apple only and then after 4. But you will note that banana and cherry have been ignored. This happens because when x equal to banana, the interpreter find break statement, so directly will exit from the loop that has this break statement and will continue from the first line after for loop. We know also that when we use for, we can use else optionally. So I can say for else, and then here inside else, I want to print the following sentence. I'm showing you this example in order to understand how the behavior of for change when we have else statement with it. So now let me assume first that there is no break statement at all, and I will remove this and run. As you see, I got apple, banana, cherry, and no break. So the content of else has been executed and no break has been printed. Now let me active this part again and run. As you see here, I got apple. So we can conclude from that if break statement is executed inside the body of the for loop, the content of else statement will be ignored, and vice versa. The last example in this session, it's about while loop. So let me assume that I want to print the numbers from 1 to 6, but if I meet the number 3, I want to break or exit from the loop directly. So I will say I equal to 1, while I smaller than 6, I will print I, and once I equal to 3, I want to break. And then I want to say I plus equal 1. Run. As you see here, I got 1, 2, 3, and no more numbers have been printed. And this is clear because when I equal to 3, break statement is executed, so the interpreter will exit directly from the loop. And that's all for this code session. Let's recap what we have learned in this lecture. First of all, jump statements have been defined as statements that can alter the execution flow of a normal loop. We see together two statements. The first one is continue, and we see that if it's executed, the current iteration will be ignored. We see together also break statement, and we say if it's executed, the execution will exit from the loop directly. And we see also that if the loop is for else, the else block of code is not going to be executed if break is executed. Please refer to the file Loops Jump Statements Challenges, in which you will find some challenges to practice what you have learned in this lecture. Thank you very much for your time, and if you are available, join me in the next lecture.